Hi everyone, I'm Steven and today I'm making a Spider-Man mask out of cardboard. If you're curious, please subscribe, like this video, and let's get to it. I started off by checking out a template online. I cut it out of paper and taped it together, and although it looks pretty great, it wasn't exactly what I wanted and it didn't seem to fit my face no matter how big or small I printed it out. So I used that template as a base to make my own. Using masking tape and scissors, I built it out, cut it up, made some sections bigger, like the forehead so it could fit my big head, and some sections smaller, like the eyes. I also cut it in half, and then extended it just to make it a little bit longer. Once I got something that fit my face, I drew lines onto the mask. These are the cut lines that I used to cut it into pieces. I wanted to keep the template as simple as possible, so the head is going to be in 4 pieces, which I traced onto cereal box cardboard and labeled. See, this is what it looks like laid out. It's similar to the template I found online, but actually fits my head shape. If you decide to make this mask yourself, you can either use the one I made or the template I used for inspiration. Both are linked below. In order to attach all the pieces together, I used more masking tape. I could have used hot glue to glue the entire mask together, but I was planning to use a heat gun to dry the paper mache since it was raining outside and I couldn't leave it outside in order to let it dry quickly, and I knew the heat gun would have melted the glue. Anyway, I used tape and took my time until all the pieces came together. When the cut portions are taped together, the cardboard curves and starts to look like a forehead, then a cheek, and then the entire face. The only line that's not on the template I made is right where my nose is. All I did for that is figure out where my nose is and make a quick snip to help give the nose on the mask a little curve so it would curve inward. Oh, and the pieces where the chin meet will overlap a little bit. I had planned to keep it a surprise, but since you can see the thumbnail, I'll just tell you now. I made 2 masks. I'm going to paint one with the classic Spider-Man colors and the other one with the cool looking Miles Morales colors. So with everything taped together, it was time to paper mache. I mixed flour and water together until I got a goo that was a little bit thinner than white glue. I ripped strips of newspaper into roughly 2 by 1 inch strips, but some were bigger or smaller depending on how the paper ripped. I mentioned this in the Mysterio video, but make sure that you rip the paper and don't cut it. You want the edges to be frayed. In my opinion, this helps give you a smoother surface once it's dried. I did about 5 layers of paper mache, however some areas got 6 or 7 layers in order to help fill around any bumps or in any dents. I let each layer dry completely before adding on the next one. I recommend letting it sit outside in the sun to dry, but like I said, I used a heat gun off camera to help mine dry quickly. Once dried, I used some sandpaper to sand it all over and help make it even smoother. There were a few dents still in my mask, so I filled it in with some dollar store caulk mixed with some dollar store white glue, being careful to keep it smooth. While that dried, I decided to work on the eyes. So for the eyes, I started by drawing the classic Spider-Man eye shape that had a little flourish at both points in order to give it some personality. I traced the eye onto cereal box cardboard for each eye that I was planning to make and then cut it out carefully. I then cut out a slightly smaller eye shape from a scrap piece of screen. This is the same screen that I used in the Spider-Man stealth mask video that I got from the dollar store. After I cut each eye piece out, I painted each side with some white craft paint in order to make it look like the traditional Spider-Man mask from the comics because he has big white eyes. To make these eyes shiny so they would look like lenses, all I did was cut out some more eye shapes from a plastic container. You can use any plastic that is clear and flat and flexible, but I used an empty plastic salad tub because that's what I had on hand. I glued these pieces together using super glue, trimmed off any excess, and then set them off to the side to dry. Now it's time to finish up the mask. It was dry by then, so I gave it one last sand and then gave it a coat of black craft paint. The reason I painted it this color is so it would act as a base coat or a primer. You could also easily paint it red if you wanted, but I just chose black. When that dried, I took thin strips of cereal box cardboard and super glued them into place, starting with the 3 lines in the center of the forehead, and then I worked my way outward. For the webbing, I took whatever round containers I had and used them to help me cut out some curved pieces. I started off small and just used a paint bottle, and then worked my way up to the larger curves, and I used a masking tape roll, a spackle container, and some Tupperware. These curved pieces were super glued into place. I did my best to trim each piece and make them as neat as possible, but I won't lie, this is really time consuming and I rushed a few. If you don't feel like doing this, you could easily just make his webbing out of some black yarn. After that, it was back to the eyes. I gently curved the lens with my hand. The metal screen is going to help it retain whatever shape it's been in, but I was very careful so the layers wouldn't pop apart, because they are a little fragile. I then used more super glue to glue them onto the mask, but had some difficulty. After some trial and error, I realized that the super glue that I got from the dollar store worked better directly against cardboard than onto plastic. Some of the plastic lenses were getting in the way and making it a little too slick to glue onto the cardboard. To get around that, I just added a tiny piece of cardboard on the back side of the eye, wherever it wasn't sticking to the mask properly. This little extra layer between the mask and the lens gave the glue something to stick onto, and the eyes were soon glued into place. I'm not gonna lie, I love the black and tan look, and it killed me to paint this, but I was in the home stretch and I really wanted to finish this off. So like I said, one mask got the Miles Morales colors, which is primarily black and then red accents, and then the other one got the classic Spider-Man colors, which is red and then black accents. Everything was craft paint and I painted on 2 coats of each color. But anyway, I'm going to do some touch-ups and then I'll be back with the finished product. So there you have it, a DIY Spider-Man mask made from cardboard, newspaper, plastic, and an old screen. These masks took a while to make, so I really hope you like them. I link to a template in the description of this video if you'd like to rewatch and follow along. I think I might like the Miles Morales color scheme better, but let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear from everyone. I'd also love it if you would subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thanks for watching, and talk to you soon everyone. Bye-bye. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can, spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies.